and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
Yeah, I saw an article that said that
community.
patients were eating
people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people on
taking
television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member
and we're going to talk about that later too.
And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them.
This
They
is going to
allowed
be
criminals, many
dangerous and
millions of
crazy.
criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed
I don't
people
agree
to
with
come
or
in, drug
support
dealers,
that.
to come into our country. And they're now in the
And
United
going door
States
to door
and
trying to track
told
people
by
down.
their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law.
There's
and
no
respect for law
continuity
enforcement.
for
The
the
former
rule of
vice
law.
president called for defunding federal law enforcement,
Here, let me write that down. We'll talk about
45,000
that later.
agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris,
They
you.
are
Excuse me.
exhausted, and you've been the
Every one of
running
those
the plays
cases
for the last
was
3
started
years,
by
lady.
them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the justice.
Cases are real. You're really
Well,
fighting them,
let's talk
brother.
about extreme
But they are
and
bogus.
understand the context in which this election
No
in 2024
continuity
is
in the
taking
rule of
place.
law.
The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
That's what you guys are doing
Someone
to
who
him,
has
though. So
openly
it's hypocrisy for you to be
disdain
doing that.
for members
saying
of
that.
our
That's just
military.
crazy.
Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run
That's
for
wild
president,
how she flipped that on them.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump,
Russia investigation
we do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States.
She was not clear in 2020. That's why she's asking her this question.
The Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable.
Appeal to emotion fallacy.
That is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down.
Who wrote that for her?
And name calling.
Her values
the true
have not
measure
changed.
of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump.
Gas went
but
through
if
the
she
roof.
won the election, the day after that election,
Everything went
they'll
through the
go
roof.
back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television
Here we go
off the
with
Oval
this
Office.
shit.
You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the
They
other
always
side
cut
was
that
killed.
out of the
Ashley
soundbite.
Babbitt was shot
That should
by
be
an
crazy.
out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our
If you
country and
think
killing
January
people that she
6th
allowed to
was
pour in? She was the
a,
border czar. Remember that. She was the border
if you think they
czar.
were trying to
She was
overthrow
one
the
who called
Capitol,
the border czar because she's
drop a
embarrassed
2
by the
in the
border. In fact,
chat.
she said at the beginning,
If you think it
"Oh,
was
I'm
a
surprised
hoax
you're not
or
talking
all
about the border
bogus,
yet." That's because she knows what a bad
drop a
job
9
they've
in
done.
the chat.
What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the
people that died committed suicide after. No police officers died that day.
Reason.
Fact check that. That's a lie.
But this is not an isolated
That's crazy
situation.
that she said that.
Let's remember Charlottesville.
One person was shot and it was by a police officer.
There was a mob of people carrying tiki torches.
Yeah, the mob was unarmed.
Spewing anti-Semitic
January
hate.
6th.
And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th
They
was,
taking the shit way out of context.
I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going
They were
back.
fine
It's
people.
time to turn the page.
They asked him to say it, though. Remember? They were like,
well,
when you
there
tell
is a
them something,
place
he did talk
in
like he was
our
their commander, though.
campaign
That
for
was
you
funny.
to stand,
Stand back,
for
stand
the
down,
country,
soldiers. Like,
to
that's the only thing he didn't
stand
say for
for our
soldiers.
democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath.
No,
if this and
he
the outcome of
didn't
this election is
say
not
that.
to his liking.
Wow.
Let's turn the page on this.
I'm going to write that down, too. We're going to play all of these sound bites later in full
for
context.
the future and not go
Bloodbath.
backwards in the past.
Wow, I can't
Let me
believe
just
she
follow up
said
here.
that. That's so
It was a
disingenuous,
different
and that's
term, and it was
scary
a
because
term
I heard that whole
related
speech.
to energy, because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also,
Yeah.
for Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say,
He corrected that
debunked.
quick.
Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people.
She's
they
literally trying to
covered it.
fear-monger
If they go
people
an
with
extra sentence, they will see
taking
it
shit
was
out of
perfect.
context. That's
it was
scary to me.
debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you, because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after
What'd he say?
You lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won.
That's what he should do, focus
In the
on
past
immigration
couple of
and the
weeks leading
economy
up
if
to
he
this
wants to
debate,
win.
you have
Anything
said,
else is
quote,
going
you
to
lost
have
by a
lose.
whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you.
It's funny they're letting them get this out.
I'll show you
And this
Georgia,
is why
and I'll
I'm off
show
Twitter
you Wisconsin,
at
and
the
I'll
time,
show you
so he
Pennsylvania.
didn't have a
and I'll
voice
show
to
you-
say
we
some
have
of this
so many
shit.
facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter.
Not
Because we
that
have to
I don't
solve
know
the
what
problem
happened,
that
though.
we have right now. That's old
Either
news.
way, but-
And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election. That was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom work with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
What's scary? It's funny how she tried to play him, but when Joe Biden was confused every day, it was okay.
Orban, one of the
Like,
most respected men, they call him a strong man.
That's just weird. Like that she took that angle of a rebuttal.
Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I
up.
think we're going to do very well.
She had 2% of the vote.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Ooh, well, I like how she posed the question. How would you do it?
On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization,
she's good at this shit.
slaughtered.
Yeah, look, here what she do, bro. She acknowledges what's going on and then tells you how she ain't about to do shit.
I want to hear. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
She's
Work
lying.
around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution.
She has all the bargaining
And in
chips.
that
We
solution,
fund them.
There must be security for the Israeli people and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump,
That
how would you
bogus ass
negotiate
shit.
with
She not about to do
Netanyahu
nothing.
and
She
also
already said that
Hamas in
shit.
order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish
His
people,
response sounds
Israel,
dumb to me.
Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand
Because he's
that
not a
we have to
freaking
have
war
a
hawk, as
president
bad of
who
a
is
war
not
hawk as
consistently
the
weak
Democrats.
and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That
And
nigga,
she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approved the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe.
Damn, you
Because
brought that
they're
up?
weak and they're ineffective.
Do we want
And Biden,
pipelines
by the
built?
way, gets
President
paid a
Trump,
lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic
I don't
ABC
wanna
News
fight
presidential debate from the
I
National
remember Biden
Constitution
said he
Center
was gonna
right
blow
here
that
in
motherfucker
Philadelphia.
up.
Back in a moment.
I mean, we were protesting all the pipelines. So why would we want those
The
built here?
ABC News presidential
Blowing
debate
up
will
of
continue
another
after
foreign
this.
powers pipeline is an act of war. But
No,
we're
I
on the
didn't
brink
say
of
to
World
blow
War
it up.
III.
I didn't say to blow it up. I
No,
don't
that's
know.
what I was talking
day
about.
for 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
It got blown up by
She
us.
went to meet her mom at a bowling
They had
church
planted
league,
bombs
but
under
she
there.
never makes it into the bowling alley. My gut knew this was not a young girl who just.
And then that's like all the environmentalists
New
are upset
information.
about that
Pools of
at
blood
America
were found by
because
detectives
it
who put on
created one of the biggest pollutant, environmental
Wait,
It is a
things
heartbreaking day
ever.
for
Like,
Melissa Witt.
can you hear?
Police found the body in the
Yeah.
Ozark National Forest.
I'll pause
We
it
had
for a
several
second. I
suspects.
should
All
actually.
these kinds.
Yeah.
Just mute
While that commercial's going. Oh yeah, the pipeline blew up. All the environmentalists are salty because it created one of the biggest chemical spills ever. All in the name of economic warfare.
Yeah, because
Did
we
I
got to look
pause
at
it,
it.
or is it? Wait, what's? Oh, I paused it. I did
Kinds
not
of
mean to do
leads.
that. I
No
apologize.
just mute.
alert in your area. Could he be involved? Only
We got to look at it at the highest levels, though.
Baywatch is a fantasy. When you hear
Mute.
That blowing up the pipeline, like you said, it was an act of terror, but it's also cutting off a supply because that's why they're building them pipelines through them countries. You stretching your arms to be able to have a supply to get your oil or move your goods or whatever. You preparing for war or to take over territories when you building them pipelines.
Do you know
It was
who's
not
the
intelligent.
supply that it cut off though?
It was not
Who was
intelligent.
Russia supplying?
Russia wasn't supplying; they was just stretching their arm. They trying to build their pipeline.
But now
They
Russia
supply the
supplies
EU.
us.
They were supplying Europe with
Russia
natural
supplied
gas.
everybody.
No, but
Yeah.
Russia
Now-
supplies like over 50% of our oil.
Yeah, but
Now we
Yeah.
have enough stores for in case there is emergency here, but we should not be getting over 50% of our oil from an outside source. But then we come back to the question: is who the fuck wants a pipeline put in their house, in their
but
community?
you got to
Who
think
wants
about
that,
it.
though?
Who
I don't want it.
if I'm getting broke off the oil, yeah, I want it. If I'm
Well,
digging
then
in my
let the people
backyard
do it because
and I
when
found
we were
oil
at
in my
Standing
backyard,
Rock, when we were
Wait,
at
are you
Standing
talking
Rock-
about the Keystone pipeline or the Nord Stream 2 pipeline in 3?
I'm not talking about any particular one. I'm saying
Okay.
any pipeline. If they come and say, "Hey, we want to build a pipeline in Paynesville," I'm protesting, and you're not. And when it was Standing Rock, they were protesting, and they don't want them here, and they put them in the communities that can be affected and where they can get away with it. So sure, go ahead and put them over in Russia, but then that does give us the problem, the economic disadvantage that we are giving our oil away to the other countries.
I understand that. I understand that putting them together like that. That's not how he put them together. He was talking about us.
Of course,
Those are
he
two.
doesn't put them together like that because he doesn't care about the environmental aspect. That's a true reality. He cares about the economic profit.
Well,
And
Russia's
it's
pipelines
so easy to talk about profits when you can put them in marginalized communities where minorities exist, like Native American communities or Black communities. So of course we're not going to talk about that part. Of course we're not going to. Of course, all he gives a shit about is the economic money aspect.
I
real
don't think those
people's
two really
lives are
correlate.
blowing
But
them up.
okay.
Real
Okay.
people are being polluted. Real people are getting sicknesses from this being in their communities. So why aren't we talking about that part?
Oh, I agree with all of that. Yeah, that has nothing to do with Russia's Nord Stream 2, though, specifically.
It has to do
And
with
when
it.
it blows up,
Why
yeah.
would Biden allow that?
But
that's why
I
I'm
just
saying.
explained both parts.
you said why would Biden blast that? Biden blasted that. I'll do a podcast on it.
Ain't an issue.
I've done a podcast on it already. I could bring up the slides.
So you want to talk about Biden blowing up a pipeline?
That's what he just ended the segment on.
Well, I know, but I obviously was talking about pipelines in general, period. But if we want to talk about that, obviously that's an unintelligent thing to do is blow up a pipeline. I think we can all
agree. I agree. These are long commercials. I feel them. They trying to get their money. Okay. Here goes some key points I did take notes on. Some key points I took notes on where 200 Republicans endorse her. It's funny because you always see George Bush and, you know, cuddled up with Obama everywhere he goes. I mean, Obama's wife everywhere they go. It just shows that party lines have crossed a long time ago, and it's one big system. It's one bird, two wings, and you know, it's a game to them.
They're
And
all in Bohemian Grove hanging out
yeah,
together, so it's all good.
exactly. Okay, let me hit the sound back, and we're back live.
That we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons that
are they
like
sending
me
them
as much
all
as
of
they
our
like
tax
weak
dollars,
people.
though?
But
That's
you take a
intelligent.
look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
They threw him out of the
Your time is
campaign
up.
like a dog.
Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get
That
this
was
war
funny,
finished
man.
and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on your support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
Why she talk to
And
him like a
that's not
petty
who we
baby
are as
mama?
Americans. Let's
That shit
understand what
annoying.
happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. and understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world
Who
has ever
said
known,
that?
which is NATO,
They don't
and
like
what
y'all.
we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe,
I gotta write that
starting with
down.
Poland.
She's
And why don't
lying.
you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond.
She
to
don't
something
talk
you said
about
earlier,
Israel like they
Please,
dictators who
I'll
will eat
give
you
you a
for
minute
lunch
here.
with all them dead babies.
Putin
She's
would be sitting in
weird.
Moscow,
That's crazy to
and he
me.
wouldn't have lost
She
300,000
did
I'm not falling
say
for
do
it.
it that way.
and women.
I'm not
But he
falling
would have
for
been
it.
sitting in Moscow.
did condemn
Quiet,
that.
please. He would have been sitting in
Like
Moscow.
the babies that Russia
much
hasn't
happier than
killed,
he is right
like
now.
it's not even.
But eventually,
She
you
needs
know,
to
he's
come
got a
harder.
thing that other
But
people
what's the
don't have. He's got
difference? She
nuclear
did
weapons. They
condemn
don't
it.
ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that.
The
And
difference is she's
eventually,
also funding that
maybe
one, and
he's
she's
him,
not
maybe
funding
he
him.
hasn't
That's
been
the
that
difference.
threatening.
The
But
difference
he
is
does
she's
have
also
The
that.
difference is
announcing
she's
the
got
war.
us funding it with our tax
Nobody
dollars
likes to
too.
talk
She's
about
not
it.
Congress.
But just
She's
so
not
you
the
understand,
House. She
they
doesn't
sent
make the
her to
laws.
negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days
Her
later,
administration,
he went in and he
she
started
represents
the war
that,
because
and she's not
everything
getting
they
out of
said
that.
was weak.
And
She
as
took
a
the job, and
stupid.
she's not getting
They
out
said
of
the
that.
wrong
So
things.
it's
That war
nice
should have
try,
never
but
started. She
no,
is
that
an
doesn't work.
emissary.
That
They
doesn't
sent
work.
her in to
Where she
negotiate
condemned
And
with
she supported it.
Zelensky
No,
and
she doesn't
Putin.
condemn it. She's
And she
acknowleding
did.
it.
And the war started.
If she
3
condemned
days
it, she
later.
wouldn't keep
And
funding
That's
it.
the kind of
You
talent
can't
we
condemn
have
it
with
and
her.
fund it.
She's worse than Biden.
You can't
In
if
my
you don't
opinion,
make
I
the
think he's
laws.
the
That's
worst
not
president
respect.
in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to
That was a
negotiate with
bar.
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah,
Vice
that was
President
a
Harris,
bar.
have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you
Right.
clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella.
That's like
And that is another one.
basketball team.
When I went to
She's
meet with
she
President
may not be
Zelensky,
the
I've now
point
met with him
guard,
over
but
5
she's
times.
shooting guard.
Well, she
The
already said when
reality
she's
is
president,
has
she's
been
not
that
going to
she
stop
has
funding
standing
Israel.
America always should,
If she's
as a
condemned,
leader, upholding
don't do play
international
like this, bro.
rules and norms.
Yeah,
I
but
As
said
a
don't
leader,
play like
She's
this.
not going to
Don't
stop
play
funding
like
Israel.
understanding
So-
that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very
What
much what is at
democracy?
stake here. The president of the
We
United
didn't
States
have a
is
primary. What
commander-in-chief,
democracy?
and the American people have a right to rely
Why
on
do
a
we need
president
primary? She's running
who
for
Are they trying to
understands the
spread
significance
no
of
primaries
America's
to other
role and
countries like we had
responsibility
here?
in terms of ensuring
Nobody
that there
even
is
voted for her.
stability
That's
and
funny
ensuring we
that she's
stand
talking about
up for
democracy.
our
We're about to
principles
vote
and
for
not
her
sell
president.
them
What do you
for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and
She
Vladimir
was supposed to
Putin.
be
I do
voted
want to
into
talk
this
about
position.
Afghanistan. It came up in the
We
first
are
hour
about
of this
to,
debate.
and the
No, no,
presidential
no.
I
election.
wanted
She's
to
supposed
move
to be
on
voted
Afghanistan.
just to be the
Said
Democratic
Trump is
nominee.
The most amazing
Primaries, that's
I've
not
ever seen.
like
He got these countries.
Primary is where the
28
Democrats vote
countries
for
at the
who they
time
want to run.
like
pay up.
she skipped
They
that
didn't do
primary.
that.
He's the
They
head of
robbed
NATO.
us of
Who
democracy
said,
this
I've
year.
never seen for
What's
years.
the-
Donald Trump didn't do
almost
that.
all
They
of
did.
NATO, we were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before: if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not
She just
one
embarrassed
member
herself
of the United States
admitting that.
military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them
because we did create
to
the Taliban.
Camp David.
But that's what I was gonna try not to be petty and say that they do business with them and that they created them. But it seemed like I'm just being
President
petty.
of the United
It ain't
States
even petty.
to
It's
be
rigged.
commander-in-chief with a level of respect.
They'll be
And
like,
this
well,
gets
she
back
wasn't
to
there.
the point of how he has consistently
We trained
disparaged
them
and
niggas,
demeaned
gave them their
members of our
weapons.
military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with
thank
the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the
That's like a
Taliban.
funny, man.
And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had
This nigga's
nobody
hard.
killed.
I forgot
We
he
did
did
have an
that
agreement
shit.
negotiated by Mike
was
Pompeo.
hard.
It was a very good agreement. The reason we were getting out, we would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it.
We about to
The
slide on
agreement
your
said
ass.
you have to
nigga.
do
Nigga, I
this,
got you a
this,
box of
this,
notes,
this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement
Oh,
was
man.
was
That was
terminated
funny.
by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
And
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment
they
in the
left
history of our
tanks and
country.
everything
And by the way,
for them
that's
niggas.
why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is.
Somebody asked
don't
him
care.
that question. He didn't weigh in.
You make a big deal out of something. I
wanna
couldn't
hear
care
what y'all
less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
That was a horrible answer.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
Oh,
You know,
him?
I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were
Yep.
innocent, the Central Park Five,
Remember that movie?
took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the
Yep.
same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
Thank you, God.
Want
Please.
someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country.
Ever?
And they come up with
Under the
things
Civil
like
War?
what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And
There
I
was a
said,
lot of
well,
black
if they pled
folks
guilty,
who
they
thought the
badly
same thing.
hurt
Like,
the
what?
person
They
who
raped
killed
that
the person
woman?
ultimately.
Guilty, though.
And if they pled guilty, then they pled.
That's not
not
his
guilty.
fault. He's not a
But
prosecutor.
this is a
A
person
corrupt
that has to
prosecutor who
stretch
didn't
back
care,
years,
like
40,
she used to
50
be.
years ago,
You're right.
because there's
He's not a
nothing now.
prosecutor.
I built one of the
Obviously, he
greatest
doesn't
I know.
economies in the
He was a
history of the
citizen like
world.
everybody else
And
who
I'm
was
gonna
like, what,
build
they
it
pled
again.
guilty?
It's
We
gonna
want
be
that
bigger,
rapist
better, and
dead.
stronger.
I be saying that shit about rapists all the time.
They have no idea what a good economy is.
We be saying that
Their
about
oil
rapists all the time in the
policies, every
community.
single policy. And remember this.
It's a whole bunch in the conscious
She is
community.
Biden.
We be like,
You know,
what?
she's trying to
Chop
get
them
away
off,
from Biden.
castrate
I don't
them.
know the gentleman. She says, she is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad,
I thought we were talking
and
about
she
her
can't
black.
get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly.
Yeah.
Clearly, I am not Joe
And then they'll
Biden,
say he wants to focus
and
on
I am
race.
certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police.
You have to move
She
on.
has a
You gotta let her
plan
rebuttal.
to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or
She
anywhere
changed the
else.
subject to an
That's what
economic
her
plan.
is,
He's
but
supposed to
she'll
rebuttal
just
that.
listen.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump.
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
gonna
just need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money, and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So
We really
just
need
yes or no,
Medicare
just
for
do you
all,
not have a
man.
plan?
Neither one of them
I have
motherfuckers
concepts
gonna
of
do
a
that
plan.
shit.
I'm not
I
president
didn't
right
change
now.
it when I was
But
president
if
last time.
we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less
That same
expensive.
thing you saying
And there
apply to
are
Kamala's
concepts and
administration
options
as well.
we
So
have
Wait,
to do
it's been
that.
9
And you'll be
years.
hearing about it in the not too distant future.
9
Vice
years. He was
President
only
Harris, in
president for.
2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with
He was
private
president.
insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that
And then
included
Obama had it
private
for
insurance
how long
option.
before
What is your plan
him?
today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people.
Still pay 10 times more than the rest of the world.
Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
And it's against the law to buy it from Canada, where it's like 10 times cheaper.
Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And
Sounds
the
like she wants
plan
Medicare
has
for
to
all,
be
but she won't do
to
that.
strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Pass his
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of
mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me
It
just
was
tell you,
just
they lost
happening,
10,000
like, last year. That's
manufacturing
weird.
jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia.
Let me pause this. Or mute it. Okay, go ahead and weigh in.
Yeah, so far so good. I think a lot of their points, they've been skillfully deflecting. I mean, it's obvious, but it's still a skill to know when to deflect when the ball not in your fucking court. And both of them been doing that good. Is that good for the people? No. Nigga, answer the question how we want it to be. Don't be deflecting and just pointing fingers and shaming the other one. You answer the question that was asked to you.
I think this time it has been done the least that I've probably ever seen in any election. I think because she keeps bringing it back around. She's good at like coming back to, we're not about to do this mudslinging thing. Let's talk fact again.
What debates have you watched though?
Me?
Yeah,
I watch every debate.
Because
don't play with me.
All the Biden's been shitty and been
I've said hers are the least of the mudslinging that I've
seen.
Yeah. Normally,
her in general.
The whole debate.
Well, her in general, yes.
Like, we're just not doing that.
Yeah, with Kamala in general, she don't play that shit. Like,
but I do want to commend the what's it called? The people who are like leading the debate. What are they called right now? The anchors or whatever, the moderators, because I feel like they're asking really good questions and asking them the right way. Like, these are the things that I actually care about and want to know about. So normally they don't, but now they're really getting to it. So, and I researched about her not winning the primary, and it said that there was a virtual 5-day vote by the delegates, which I don't know when this occurred, but she received 99% of support from the delegates to formally become the party's presidential nominee.
That's
Who is the
absolutely,
delegate?
and you're absolutely correct. Hey, Darius, this is my nigga. I was just, who are these 5 delegates that you don't know and you've never heard of inside of a back room who put her in office?
4,567 delegates.
No, I know.
But what?
Not the American people, though, right?
People, though.
That's not the people, correct?
It's
Okay, correct.
What happens when you run for election is you have to go to the freaking, like it happened here at Lakeland Community College. And they choose delegates to be your representatives for your cities and your counties.
Is that how the primaries work every year?
No.
Yeah, that's how.
No.
I don't know about the primaries. This is different.
Every year the primaries. We didn't have one for.
I think it does. Because
well, don't worry about it. I'm going to do a podcast on it, breaking it down. We don't have to get into it right now.
No, that part.
The delegates aren't the people. The people are supposed to be able to pick who they want to be the nominee. We're supposed to see debates. Then we're supposed to vote for the nominee.
We do.
Delegates aren't supposed. Absent of us, I'm a registered Democrat. I was robbed of democracy this year. I was robbed of democracy this year because I didn't get a chance to vote in a primary for who I wanted to run. And that's a problem for me. I was stabbed in the back by the Democratic Party. And
because if you read
yes,
the law,
we are. No,
stabbed in the back because
yes, we are.
The law, then you would know that she doesn't have to win the primary, that she doesn't have to do
again.
And if you are such a committed Democrat, then you should go to delegate meetings that occur in your actual community. You should go to the DNC meetings. You should go to
that's not a stipulation of me having an opinion on feeling stabbed in the back as a voter. So we're not going to. We don't have to go there with that. That's not going to work either. 2 primaries and the people are supposed to be able to vote.
You could feel stabbed in the back.
Law or not? Law or loophole? Which is it? Is it a law or a loophole? Law or a loophole? And this is why that they say that the Democrats, it's not even democracy, it's democratocracy, because they come up with these loopholes. They figure out ways that now if Donald Trump had fast-tracked his way and nobody got a chance to vote for him, he would be a dictator and he would be stealing democracy. I mean, hold on. I'll let you finish. I waited for you to go, because I don't like it.
I just think you're not involved in what's going on in your community, so you could be mad if you want. But
we're talking about national. We're talking about the national primaries. The DNC, the Democratic National Party. I like that you take it local to deflect, but let's stay focused. We're talking about the Democratic National. That's not how. She just doesn't understand how primaries work, and it's okay.
Y'all argument aside. That's not how it's traditionally done, is what I'm saying.
It's here, though.
Exactly, it's not.
It's a way around it. But
yeah, they created a loophole to circumvent anybody being able to vote, and they can just pick who they want, and that's not democracy.
Yeah.
How do you think on your primary you get?
Look. We don't have to discuss it. It's okay.
I think that happens every election.
This is what happens.
There wasn't no 3 or 4 choices.
Them accountable, and we do.
3 or 4 choices.
Folks, sorry about that.
And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a planning, the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
Well, what about mandating vaccines?
I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay?
This part didn't happen.
And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice
How?
President Harris,
She didn't
thank
give a
you.
how.
President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question.
I don't like him on
Why
this.
didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Wow.
That's like
That's how they ended it. That's really how they ended it.
We are here live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz.
Are we going over these post-debate comments, or are we doing our own?
To Afghanistan, they had it all, and it was historic.
Let's see.
John Carl, fiery.
Hey, I wonder if they got bad Joes on here, man. Oh, they don't.
That was quite a debate.
He ain't made it there yet. He ain't did enough crying to get there yet.
Our reporters across the news division have been updating our live blog, looking at some of the allegations made back and forth, doing fact checks. You can find all of that on abcnews.com.
Okay, we're going to get out of here on ABC News.
At the very start of this debate, because it was quite a moment. The handshake.
Oh, go wait, because they about to play the beginning.
And if you look,
What's up, good debate? Thank you.
I mean,
Welcome
quite a
to
moment.
you,
First of all, because we hadn't seen a handshake.
She got
We
that
haven't
Hillary
seen a handshake
pantsuit.
And
Yes, she did.
not only did she initiate it, she walked over to him.
Who cares? I can't. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. They already asked us it too much. He said, "Oh my God, she initiated a handshake. Oh, do you see her?" No, I can't.
He wasn't going to shake her hand.
We're not doing that.
That's so petty and childish.
We're not doing that.
Like, why are you a child? You're a grown man.
Because they've been making up lies about. I mean, I do the same thing to people who be making up lies about me and doing all this weird stuff.
No, it's like boxing. Sometimes
You want me to press play?
Box, you don't touch. Some niggas don't want to touch gloves.
Yeah, I don't even want your energy on me. I'm not touching you. I don't. Yeah, no. Keep your energy over there. We not transferring no energy over here. You feel me? I don't want them vibes on me, you know.
But you'll shake anyone else's hand as a president. You'll go around the world and shake men's hand, but you can't shake Kamala Harris' hand.
He did shake her hand. I'm saying he was locked in. That nigga was walking to the podium head down. He wasn't even looking.
Oh, okay.
That nigga was locked in.
You want me to let it play so that way y'all can go? Okay, I'm gonna let it play.
And
I'm gonna let it play.
see
I'm gonna let it play for Breezy.
And
I'm
also
gonna give her a request so she don't feel like I'm being biased.
If he hadn't
I
had
got you.
his hand out.
I'm trying to be
so
fair.
on the bottom line, what did you think?
I think clearly what Kamala Harris wanted to do was be the candidate of hope, the candidate of the future. Donald Trump seemed angry within 4 minutes. I think we saw him going from very serious at the beginning, never really.
Oh, let me drop the link for the panel for everybody.
To just angry. I mean, really
Sorry about
yelling
that.
at some points, trying to make make his point. I don't think we heard a lot of policy and plans on
The
either
link
side of
is
that.
pinned in the chat if you want to
despite
come
those
in.
questions over and over again. But what you had was that optic. You had Kamala Harris looking over, baiting him again and again and again. The microphones were muted when they weren't speaking, but many times she didn't need a microphone. You watched Donald Trump get mad.
No,
panel,
they don't.
especially after something like
Once
this.
you see one starting to break protocol on one of these news channels, they fire him. Like Tucker Carlson. I think
Tucker Carlson's a bit. He's.
But once he was.
Tucker Carlson don't give a damn about your feelings though. He be doing too much.
When he was on their side, and when he was on their side and going crazy, they didn't care. Once he switched sides, and they cared. So it's all about just following the agenda.
That part. I can't speak on it. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna listen.
Go ahead. Lamont Jones or Mark Jones?
No, they ain't have no brother on here. It was just
John, we were all talking leading
Oh,
up to
oh yeah, no, Lamont Jones, when he started speaking out against Palestine, they got rid of him too.
Speaking out on Palestine, they got rid of that nigga.
Yeah, he had to go quick. Anytime you start speaking out against the establishment or the wars, you become a problem. And then
also at any job though, you can't go speak like Colin Kaepernick couldn't freaking kneel.
No, they're
as a
new, but
player.
all right, but listen, yes, stop excusing that. Yes, you literally are
You're not supposed to put your opinion in what you're reporting.
It's fair.
Oh, but that's all they do though.
Your opinion is not reporting
It ain't
facts.
your opinion. It's just
if you're
reporting.
Speaking out against Palestine. That's your opinion.
Your opinion is.
You don't get to do that on
your
a national network that somebody else pays for. Your opinion is not allowed reporting the news.
Can I go?
Yes.
Your opinion is literal. Why do you think they have debates?
If it's a debate.
You said you was gonna let me go.
You asked me a question.
All right. They have debates, so one side can give their opinion against the other side's opinion.
But not.
But listen. And in reporting, you report the facts, but you also give your opinions to go along with the facts. And based off the organization you're aligned with, sometimes you'll have an agenda mixed in with your opinions to go along with the facts. That's reporting.
You know what I think? I think if I wanted you to report a factual situation, I would ask you to keep your own personal opinions and preferences out of my network's factual presentation of information.
That's how reporting is supposed to be done.
Let me tell you why. If I want to speak on the war that's happening in Israel and Palestine, I might have to employ somebody who's for Palestine at the same time as employing someone who's for Israel. So I can't. That wouldn't even make sense to have both y'all in there.
Let me go. All right, now let me go.
Unless we are doing a debate.
No, but
that's great.
No, that literally don't happen because the people at the top don't want one person on Palestine's side and one person on. They want it all Israel side. They don't want it.
Of course, because Israel owns all the media too. Jews own all the media.
So exactly, that's my point.
Okay, so let me go ahead. Yeah, let me let this play.
To this about how this would go, what Donald Trump you would see. I think he had a plan for talking about.
She sounds like a
what
Trump
he
supporter.
saw as a next term, but then he was talking about rumors about people eating their neighbors' pets. So it really devolved into.
He shouldn't have went to the rumors.
Didn't really explain some of the big questions that were out there about why she changed.
Oh, you can't see what I'm showing. I'm sorry.
Part of the reason
Hold
is
on, let me
Donald
show the
Trump
screen.
really was not effective in bringing the debate to her. I agree with you. I think that he looked not just angry, but also rattled. And in contrast, Harris, who again, much of the world doesn't know, Harris looked like she belonged on the stage, looked like she is somebody that could serve as president.
And that is certainly how the campaign
Yes,
is
she
feeling
did.
tonight. I can tell you, the Harris campaign feels very
She
good.
definitely
They
looked
had
like a
very
good
strong night,
liar.
that she was in command,
So
that
I
she
agree
did look
with him.
presidential, and
She
that
was
she
very
was able,
poised.
they feel,
Yeah.
to hold Donald
poised.
Trump accountable for his actions. And
She
of course,
lied with
that was their goal
conviction
going into
today.
this, that she would
I've
be able
never
to put
seen.
Donald Trump's record under a microscope. And they feel that the strongest example of that was that exchange on abortion, where she was able really to blame Donald Trump directly to his face. I mean, she said, what you are putting women through is unconscionable. Yes, she goaded him. She flat out trolled him many times. Got
Hold
him
on, now I got to pause this. They're talking about women's rights, okay? Now we're going to pause this as we go along. I like this because they're going to give us the talking points and we can all respond. So I think we should start with the lady in the room. I don't mean to put you on the spot, though, if we're going to talk about women's rights.
Yeah.
You're a woman. You should probably go first.
What would you like me to talk about? You cannot tell me what I will do with my body unless you are going to then raise this child, pay for this child, take care of this child, make sure we're fed, how all that. Then if you are not willing to adopt this baby, then you don't have no say over what happens with my body parts. You have no say. God created this. Man did not.
So that's the stipulation, though. Is that the real stipulation, or are you just saying that as
That's
if?
the stipulation over abortion, and that's the stipulation over vaccination. That's the stipulation over forcible control over a human's body as far as changing it medically or altering it medically.
Okay,
You do
so
not have medical control over my body.
So what about?
I understand. And how do you feel when the Democrats tried to mandate vaccines?
I totally shot it down. That's totally
Okay.
unacceptable.
Because it seems like, okay.
If they believe in the rights of autonomy, then there's no possible way they should have ever promoted that. But they don't truly believe in the rights of autonomy. They do believe in women's rights.
Okay, so you do believe that they're lying up there, and it's like a contradiction.
It's a contradiction. I mean, yeah, but Trump also had the same contradiction. He said he was against vaccinations, and then he promoted them.
Well, he didn't mandate them to like try to make everybody have to take one or
No, but he
else,
lied when
or
he said
by
he was
jail.
against
Like,
them,
we're
and then
gonna
he
lock
promoted
you up
them.
if you don't get this shot. That's scary. Imagine them chasing you around with a needle and a vaccine in it. It's getting wild. They're pulling up at your door, and we hide up under the floorboards like it's the Nazis for real. Like,
Yeah, that's what they
this
did
is
in Australia.
crazy.
That's what was
This is
happening around the
crazy.
rest of the world. And I wish
And
that the Democrats or Republicans would have either spoken and given us some autonomy, but they don't.
And I agree. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I already know how to deal with racism. You know, we've dealt with that for a long time. So if they say that's the worst we got to deal with from them, cool. But stuff like that the Democrats are pushing, that's some new age type of terrorism that I've never seen.
What?
What we just talked about.
The women,
what we just went over and were laughing about.
Oh, the vaccination, but both of them are pushing the vaccination.
One was mandating it, and a federal judge had to slap him down and tell him, you're tripping. The other person just said, hey, they're available if you want them. Nobody's going to force them on you. It's unconstitutional.
I ain't gonna lie. It was clearly two different sides to that dichotomy.
Yeah.
No, Trump was on there talking about
I ain't even talking about Trump. I'm
No.
talking about, like, it was more so the Republicans as a whole was against that.
The Republicans were against it, and that's why they were like, Trump, you said you weren't going to support this. And that's why I was like, okay, Trump, speak
He
up
didn't
for it.
support mandating. He supported the option and the availability to have it done fast. And I am upset, but I agree. I am upset about Operation Warp Speed because that's the name of the program that he used to roll the vaccine out. A lot of people don't know this. I have a whole list of stuff I don't like about Trump, but it's nothing everybody brings up because they only focus on stuff that really doesn't matter, it seems like. The vaccines were a problem that he rolled out. He never tried to mandate them. He wasn't for that because it's unconstitutional. I have a video clip of him saying that, but we already know that they were trying to force him on our kids, the Democrats. They were trying to force them on us. They were trying to kick you. You can't go to work if you don't get these. You can't be in public.
For under 9 months old, they want three COVID vaccinations by 9 months old now on the CDC list.
Okay. And you know what? Let's move on from that because I actually told my people I wouldn't talk about that on their space, and I apologize. Oh, I forgot I was streaming on their channel. I don't want to get them
but she also
any
talked
strikes. Sorry about
directly to
that.
voters, even inviting them to a Trump
glad
rally
I
to
caught that.
underscore that
I
central
hope I
argument in her
didn't
campaign that she says he's only out for
say
himself,
too much.
that she argues she's out for the American people.
Rachel?
Yeah, well, look, the Trump campaign is going to be seizing on the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris did not do a great job today really explaining her policy shifts, right? And that is what they have been seizing on. They're really trying to define her for voters. The voters.
Let me pause that. One, she's cute as hell. Two, her policy positions, she rolled them out super late. They just came out the other day. I think they did that on purpose so that way the Republicans didn't have time to
pick them apart.
Yep. You know, but it's a very good strategy. I'm not knocking her. You always play devil's advocate, like you would be giving her points for that. I'm saying it's shady. It's shady to the American people as well. We had to go around on old videos and piece Twitter posts together to try to figure out what she stands for. Meanwhile, everybody's sending her all this money and she's just raking in cash. Like, it's very odd. It's very, very odd, and it's very scary. Her policy positions just came out 2 days ago, I believe. On her website. She didn't have her policy on her website. And if you go to her website now,
research her policies on your own, because that's what I did. I knew her policies.
Yeah, exactly. But a candidate should have them clearly posted where people can look for them. We shouldn't have to go. And my point was already that you have to go around and piece her policies together because she doesn't have a clear one established where people can read it.
She has a voting record, though. She has a whole voting record you could look up.
That's cool, but we have issues of Gaza. We have issues of fracking, which we just saw her flip-flop on. So if we're trying to go off of things like that, we don't know where she stands today.
If she last 13 years, she's voted for fracking. So we could.
Oh, so you don't
and validate that.
Yes, we have quotes of her. We have quotes of her saying the opposite, and that's why people keep bringing. You don't think it's odd that people keep bringing it up and pressing her, then asking her a second time? It's because she's obviously spoken out against it. But look, I know her voting record. Well, when her voting record doesn't match her mouth, then it's not a politician that we can trust.
Then we should trust the voting record and not her mouth.
Trust the voting record and not the mouth. This is a dangerous game.
That's why you look at their voting record. They will lie to your face. Always do research for yourself. I don't care whether your policies are on your page. You can absolutely, it's funny. You can put your policies on your page, and then I'm going to go research your voting record to see if you actually stand on what you're saying.
And that's what you support?
I support.
Is this normal behavior?
I support researching the policies.
No, that's not. I'm asking you if you support them lying to our face and then voting a different way. That's what I'm asking you.
Do you think that I would answer in that way?
Your answer was that's what she's doing. Your answer was that's what she's doing, and I should be okay with it. That's what's going on. You just tried to talk me down like I'm listening to you. I understand completely.
Let me bring it back to the beginning to clarify for you. She should have talking points on her website. Maybe that would be great. But she also has a voting record since she's been in office for a really long time that as Americans, whether a candidate says he's for something or not, we obviously see that they change position, they change their rhetoric. So you should do research on your own. You shouldn't need it on your website.
We very well do. No. That's not how it's done. Once again, you're making exceptions for the rule, and that's not cool, and we're not going to do that. We're going to hold these politicians accountable, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire every step of the way. They don't get a pass, and they don't get to get our donations absent of policy positions, so we know where they stand.
That's why you research. It's called research.
It's not about research. Your policy positions are supposed to be clearly posted. I would like to be able to finish. I'll usually wait. Okay. Their policy positions are supposed to be clearly posted so people know where you stand.
Is that a part of the government thing?
It's a part of the decorum of yes, all of this. There are a bunch of unwritten rules. Yes.
I didn't know we followed decorum since Trump came in office.
I mean, it's nice that don't become like your enemies because then you're no better than them. So if that's what you're doing, then I don't know how to deal with that. So
policy list was equivalent.
Well, no, if you're deferring with where we threw morals out of the window because Trump is in office, I don't agree with that.
I didn't. Well, I'm pretty sure we did throw morals out of the office when Trump came in office.
I'm not. Well, I'm not, and you're speaking to someone who hasn't. So I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to talk from that side or that position, and I don't know any arguments brought to me about that. I will still defend them. But let me go ahead and play what she's saying. Shorty, I wonder what's her name.
Had a lot of questions about her policy positions. At the same time, though, almost every single thing that Vice President Kamala Harris said tonight got under Trump's skin.
No, I just said I wonder what's her name.
And that is exactly what his allies and his advisors did not want to see. I could tell you, I do not think that part of Donald Trump's debate
triggered right now
was people eating dogs in Springfield or comparing rally sizes. They wanted him to stay focused on the issues, especially the ones that he has an edge on: Harris, economy, and immigration.
I mean, you want to get under Donald Trump's skin, you question the people at his rallies. And that was something else. Martha, you have?
I have with us right now Governor Tim Walz, of course, the Democratic vice presidential candidate. Welcome, Governor Walz. How are you feeling? What's your reaction to the debate tonight?
Martha, I'm feeling great because what I knew, and I think so many knew, and now many Americans know, is you saw a president for all America in Kamala Harris. You saw the confidence, you saw the vision, you saw the poise, and you saw the compassion for people, understanding she spoke about an economy that moves us forward, moves all of us forward, lets everybody be a part of it. And she continued to lay that out, whether it's reproductive freedom or how we start small businesses or making home ownership easier. And on the other side, you saw a nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump, angry, unhinged, and as you've been discussing, talking about things that are deeply concerning because they make no impact on the American public. He shouldn't be anywhere near the White House. And I have to tell you, if it weren't so dangerous, it reminds you of an old man yelling at the clouds. That was his thing. Get off my yard. That's what he did. Contrast that with the place Harris laying out the question for everything that matters. So I think the whole country can see what happened tonight. We'll keep pushing forward. That's the way that the country wants to see our politics be. She laid it out clearly. Donald Trump brought nothing tonight. Anger, resentment.
Governor Walz, I do want to ask you, she did not answer questions on abortion restriction. She never really answered that question. Can you clear that up where the Harris-Walz ticket stands on that?
Certainly, and you couldn't get any different than this. The reinstitution of Roe versus Wade, what was the law of the land for 52 years. You saw this in there, and him pushing back to the states, she's exactly right. It's people like Amanda in Texas, which everybody saw on the stage in Chicago, nearly bleeding out, having sepsis twice because she can't get the care. She's been absolutely clear on this. Everything Donald Trump said, that is untrue. The clarity of this is Roe. When you have Roe, you have the protections in place where women make their own decisions with their healthcare providers, not Donald Trump.
Okay, thanks so very much for joining us, Governor Walz. John?
And we have the other side of the ticket. We have Senator J.D. Vance.
I'm going to let this play for a second. I use the
joining us now. Senator Vance, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
So I want to get to one part in the debate where you came up. Donald Trump was asked if he would veto a national abortion ban. He didn't answer the question, suggested, I guess, that he wouldn't. And then it was pointed out that you, in fact, said not that long ago that he would veto a national abortion ban. Can you explain the mix-up here?
Well, I think the president's been very clear that he doesn't want a national abortion ban. I think in some ways he finds the question a little bit ridiculous because why are we asking him about legislation that's never going to actually happen and why he would veto it or not veto it when he says very explicitly that he doesn't support a national abortion ban and he wants these policies to be made by the states. But I think there's a deeper and more important issue here in this debate, which is that you had Kamala Harris effectively echoing platitude after platitude after platitude. The American people can't pay their grocery bills on platitudes. They can't put their kids in a house on platitudes. And Kamala Harris had a lot to say, but very little actual substance behind it for how she's going to lower grocery prices, secure the border, and make housing more affordable in this country.
Oh, okay, that's J.D. Vance saying
that. For 3.5 years, she can't run
because I was about to say what he was saying. Like, how is she bringing this up? Like, when she, like, were you acquiescent to the whole situation of this man who obviously can barely make it up a flight of stairs, derailing the whole economy? Like everybody felt the economy get bad. We felt it when gas prices went up. We felt it when food inflation hit us, when the portions started getting smaller, but the prices was going up. A Big Mac don't even look like a Big Mac used to look.
There's a Democratic candidate who's trying to change that.
Who's trying to change what she was complicit or acquiescent in happening?
No, I'm not talking about Kamala. I'm talking about there's another candidate. This is just
Oh
a fun
yeah.
fact. This is just.
Oh yeah. No, that's a good one. I like that because I'm not voting.
What
I wouldn't vote
candidate
for
is that?
either.
I can't remember his name, but he's changed. He wrote a bill to like make them charge an appropriate amount for the amount that our food has shrunk. Like, no, y'all got to change them prices now since you're giving us less food. You got to charge us less money. So I just wanted to shout him out. I'll look up his name later.
I mean, it's hard for that to work because of the way the GDP is and how things are priced.
Well, he's like,
know.
you're not about to give us a bag of air with our Doritos and still charge us the same amount of money. That's not okay.
Right, you ain't finessing.
I understand. That sounds good in theory. I just know how I'm looking at how the economy works, and when food prices are high, you run a restaurant, Chef D. When prices are high, the prices have to go up.
Yeah, but
like,
if I'm gonna short you, I gotta at least explain, because some places they at least give you the courtesy and tell you like the price is going up because the cost of food price is going up. A lot of these brands, what they doing is they subtly shrinking the sizes, raising the prices up, or like she said, putting air in the bag for the weight, and at least be transparent. That's what I would ask.
Well, I mean, if he's saying that
Liam?
he's going to go at the lowest level, like if I'm going to make it against the law to do this, that you can't take advantage of consumers like this, then that's going to affect the dude you buy the chicken from. He can't overprice you. He can't overcharge you. The farmer can't overcharge him. Like then it goes down the line and actually can rebalance everything. We can't just let them continue to get away with it and rape us by consumerism.
But supply and
I
demand
agree.
is true,
Yeah.
like you said. So
Yeah, because if the set price for you to make it is a certain thing, you can't charge less than that. That's the whole thing. So it's just like we have to go to suppliers.
Been overcharging you.
Y'all know what's fucked
I
up?
understand in theory that it sounds great, but I'm looking at how it's going to be implemented and how are they going to execute it, and that's where the problems start to come in. It sounds like a great theory, and I'm all for everything you're saying. I'm not against it. Like that's great. I don't like it either like that. But I recognize the problems and the struggles that they're really going to have when they're trying to execute a plan to solve that problem.
But the thing is, and this is going to go into the next podcast, a little tidbit of it, is what they're going to do is blame this shit and this issue on why they're going to start having these bioengineered food and all these lab-grown foods being able to be more readily available for us.
And that's why some people say all of this is really by design. Why
It's
did
all
Bill
by
Gates
design.
buy all that farmland? He's not
All by
investing
design.
for no reason.
Yep.
Do you
They're
see what I'm
paying
saying?
farmers to destroy their crop.
Mhm.
Like that shit crazy.
Let me go ahead and see what else JD Vance is talking about.
Who do y'all think won?
I
answer this
think the
first.
American people are finally a winner because we got to hear Kamala finally stand on certain positions, and that was good. Like she has been in hiding, and we need to see her speak. I think that we all lost because neither one of them are going to end the wars. Neither one of them. Well, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead, Darius. I'll end with that.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
I think neither one of them are going to end the wars. A bunch of stuff that I stand for, one of these two is really about to come through and do.
Yeah.
So, I stand on principles. I don't care. I'm not in this for likes. I'm not in this for the popularity contest. I'm not in this to be red, blue, left, right. I don't care about that. I care there's kids dying right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem for me. It's a problem for me. I'm not going to go vote for nobody who does it. I got a conscience. What if everybody who are religious, everybody be coming at me like I'm going, like, because I'm not, like I'm tripping. But what if everybody get judged for supporting the lesser evil because you still supported evil? I'll be thinking about that.
Facts.
Like that's crazy. Because
Ain't
what
no lesser of two
WWJD, Jesus ain't gonna come down here and be like, man, just support him, man. He gonna fight them both. Like, it's like weak mentality. And I feel like other candidates, third party candidates, Green Party candidates, whatever, ever gain traction if they keep being voter shamed into you have to because of this bad guy over here, instead of people actually voting their conscience.
I think that's true. I think that people should just vote like their conscience and vote for their integrity. But I feel like people don't, like, they're making excuses for whichever side. Like, everybody keeps having this conversation with me and they act like they really want a third party to win, but then they like fight to the death for this side, for this other, and then but this guy, but this guy, but they're like, but this guy, but they're like, and then I'm like, why are you protecting it so bad then? Just vote for who you actually want. Not, I mean, just vote for who, like you said, is on your spirit and who aligns with you, not a color. But we keep voting with a particular party color or a particular whatever. Like, just vote who this time really feels right to your soul.
And does either one of these candidates feel right to the soul? For me, no. And it is literally because it's two wings to the same bird. So I see the game and the finesse that both sides are going to play to get what they want. And what they want are their interest in these foreign entities. Both of them want that shit. Donald Trump want his interest with Russia and with China and Korea. And the Democrats wanted in Israel, Ukraine, Middle East, like they always been. It's the same plays. So whoever wins is going to go to either world war, or there's going to be skirmishes and wars, a domestic war on our land. So I don't see a win per se in the grand scheme of things. Now, for the question of the debate, I say Kamala won because she did get asked some kind of touchy questions, but not as nearly as many as Donald Trump. And when she did get asked her, she was able to answer kind of PC, and her rebuttals were good when he like pressed the issue with her, because he did kind of double down on some shit to her to kind of force her hand, and she didn't reveal her hand. She just talked around that shit. And for a debate, that's good. For the people, that ain't good, but for the debate, that was good. This nigga, like, he funny because he's passionate and he wins the like shaming part of the debate when you could kind of make your competitor look like the fuck up. Like, he's very good at that. But as far as him kind of answering on policies, he's not big on numbers. He just says we're the best and it's gonna be good and we have a plan. Like, he don't have no clear plan when he's describing his shit. So in the aspect of kind of laying out their plans, I gave it to her in that too. In the defense of himself, he did pretty good. Like, because with the color and talking about like the black and white thing, he did the right thing. Just shut the fuck up and don't address it. I thought he was gonna go into it, and I was like, do not go into that shit.
I would have been upset.
And he
too.
didn't. And that shit might have been
that's for me and you to talk about, not him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that was one of his good. That was a good hustle play. Like, he dove on the ball and saved the ball with that one. You know what I'm saying? Like, good. That was a good one.
Stay out of black folks' issues. You feel me?
Yeah. So he did good, but she won in my eyes when it came to the debate. But overall, I can't see no winner with either one of them as far as for the American people. I wish it was like to Breezy's point, I really wish these other parties had a chance. Like, it was a four part. Like, didn't back in the day it used to be more parties on the stage debating?
Yeah.
Or am I confused? And that was just the primaries, and that's why it was more niggas on the stage.
It was more people on the stage. Yeah, because you used to have Rand Paul. You're probably thinking about those days.
It was them. Yeah, so no, or was they just running to trying to get democracy, the Democrat Party, because they couldn't run independent though? Like, when did they stop
like
doing
JFK? Like, JFK was running Democrat, right?
Yeah.
in the same thing, they didn't want anybody else to run Democrat but Joe Biden. They forced everybody out of the primaries. They didn't have one. They didn't let people get a chance to vote. Then anybody else who did have the balls to not back down, they sued and tried to keep off the ballots. This was a theft of democracy for anybody who's a Democratic voter. This is what I was trying to say earlier. Like, this is wild. I've never seen nothing like this.
My biggest issue is these fucking primaries. Like, how that shit just don't exist. What happened? Like,
bro. And they say Donald Trump is trying to steal democracy. I just watched these, man. And they already stole the primary from with Bernie. That's why I'm mad. They stole the primaries with Bernie, bro. And now they did it again, bro.
Primary?
Yeah, they had primary debates. Yeah.
All right. So, and that's official. Now, where are the independent parties and the Green Party? Like, where
they be getting locked up when you try to. It was Veeraswamy. It was the one chick with they made the high heels reference. I can't remember her name.
Because
it was the chubby guy.
Because RFK was in the running.
There was a lot of people up there.
Somebody
RFK is a Democrat.
I know, but he was in the running initially under
Cornel West.
Independent.
Yeah, Cornel West. No. JFK just went independent. He was a Democrat the whole way.
Because he
was under the Democratic Party. They forced him out.
Yeah.
They forced him out because he wouldn't back down and stop running. They didn't want any competition. They had fast-tracked Joe Biden to the spot. Then they saw that he was too senile and had dementia. Then they just waited to the last minute so he could pass the ball to Kamala without any challenge.
Yeah,
nobody voted for her. This is wild.
All these other candidates getting finessed out the spot.
Bro, there's a whole bunch of lawyers in an uproar. You know, people who are really into law are in an uproar. It's like, they've never seen nothing like it. We're pretty much like a third world country right now. Like, and then they go around bombing everybody saying they want to spread democracy. What, you're trying to spread this type of, we don't even get a chance to pick who we wanted to vote for. What are they trying to spread? This isn't right. This is laughable. And it's we're an embarrassment. And other countries see this. And she said other countries want Donald Trump to lose. I mean, I'm not gonna go down that line of conversation. I'll pass it back to y'all.
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm trying to look up something.
Just like the world is split, like you do have people whose best interest will be for the Democrats to win because they will support what they got going on, their ambitions. Same with the Republicans. Some people want the Republicans to win and Donald Trump because it will support their shit. So I think it's split.
Yeah, I guess it's where your interests lie. And I mean, for me, again, mine is about principle on certain things they're doing.
And is on both sides because a lot of women, they can't go for that. You telling them what to do with their body shit. So it's all that Donald Trump shit and Republican shit is irrelevant. Once y'all saying we can't and y'all telling us
literally
what y'all gonna do with our bodies, that shit a dub, nigga. I don't give a fuck, nigga.
You lost me on everything you don't talk about. I mean, we could have been having a great conversation and then you ended with that. Oh, well, that's dead. Well, that's dead.
And that's a lot of females' mindsets.
And I'm telling you, it's really sad that it's also not a lot of men's.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't want somebody to be able to control your daughter's body or your wife's body or whatever. Like, that's crazy. What if your wife was sick? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was your wife or the baby. And now y'all have no choice. You don't have a choice. You don't have any of this.
But I don't trust them with the whole body period because the abortion, they might finesse that into the vaccines and that's mandatory because they empowered.
That's why
so
it shouldn't be okay.
Ain't no way around them getting control of your body in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, Roe v. Wade stopped them getting control of our hoo-has.
No, we just talked about the mandating of vaccines. They don't care about you really having control of your body. This is just a talking point for them. And they want abortions. You know, the Democrats they had Planned Parenthood outside of the DNC rally where Megan Thee Stallion was in there twerking. Twerk, pop that ass, go be promiscuous, and we got Planned Parenthood vans right outside for y'all. It's embarrassing. It's demonic. It's sick. Like that, I've never seen anything so sick as to have them right at the rally. Like, y'all got some audacity. Like, man, y'all tripping.
Them fetuses is a check.
That's true.
Them fetuses is a check. And we could get supernatural and crazy with it too, what they might be doing with them, with the fetuses and. No, I'm saying I don't want to talk too crazy.
That may be true, but still, women need to have a choice. Because I was a 15-year-old girl. I mean, I was a 16-year-old girl that made the decision, but that needed to be my choice. No one else was going to have to stay up with that baby at night. No one else was going to have to do those things. So a Planned Parenthood is necessary, or a place where I can go get the medical care that I need is necessary. And there's a whole bunch of girls who couldn't get no birth control, whose parents wasn't teaching them how to take care of their body, who were infected by boys, who had to go to the damn Planned Parenthood when we was kids and to free clinic and stuff. That's what you did to take care of yourself.
Devil's advocate. Now, what if they get in power and you got to go through Planned Parenthood and all they shit, but to get their services, you got to get that damn that thing.
Then you make a choice, and you don't. Then you
don't.
would not
I don't want
to
to talk about it too crazy, but I'm just saying.
Then you
like
don't be a part of it.
there's.
Obviously, I mean, you make.
I'm just saying,
life.
both
just
sides is gonna
this
have
thing
their
was
bullshit.
A mandate. That thing was a mandate, but it wasn't made into law.
Both sides.
Because the judge said no, Joe Biden, you're tripping. That's why it wasn't made into law. He tried. The people had to sue him.
Well, he didn't even have to try to make it into law because people don't do no research. They thought they
Man,
had to.
I did several podcasts on this.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about. We can't talk about it too much because.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
there's more subjects that they touched on that, besides the abortion and the medical aspects, that like the war, for instance. I think that's the biggest thing they spoke on. Because to me, them niggas is talking like Donald Trump sound like he ain't about no war. That nigga, he don't care.
He don't care.
That nigga is gonna have some wars too. So either way, it's a lose-lose situation.
We don't have a civil war if it's Donald Trump.
Because he wasn't answering it like he just was gonna end the war. He's saying he gonna talk to him, and that's not a plan, nigga. We got to know a strategy. So I feel you on the talking to him, and they like me and all that shit, but nigga, that ain't enough for me.
But did you
like, what's the strategy?
That you were gonna persecute the people who voted against you and did all that stuff.
Yeah, that was some
what
bullshit.
Would be happening in America?
He retarded. Why would you say? Just do it, nigga, after the fact. God damn.
He didn't say who voted against him. He talking about the people who came up with the Russiagate conspiracies and stuff. That's what.
Yeah, but I'm
not
saying
just that, but in Project 2025 and in different interviews.
That's not his project. I don't know why people keep bringing that up. That's funny. He even said it on there. Like, why don't we all keep saying that? Like,
but
why do people keep saying what?
Is it his?
Project 25 isn't his. He's never endorsed it. He has a platform. He's had a policy on his page for a long time. It's Agenda 47.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you a whole page that trails it all to him if you want.
Oh,
it's a whole.
I know he's got some sub company somewhere connected to it somehow. I've seen that too.
He did a whole speech about promoting that. We all need to promote.
He actually came out and spoke against it and said some of those things were fringe and crazy. Some of those things were good that were in there. The same thing he said, there's some good stuff, there's some trash in there. What the heck? And he said, but it's not my policy. I have my own agenda on my website and I don't endorse it or disapprove it either way. I'm just saying it's not mine. He did that in the whole
really
tweet.
Smart, but then to tell all of your colleagues to donate to this foundation and to support it, that would be really smart.
I haven't seen that. So if you got a source, I got sources for all my stuff. I'm not playing any videos currently. Let me see what they're moving to next, though. I don't want to stick to one thing too long. Unless somebody got some sources, because then I'm all for that stuff. We can pull up stuff and share stuff for the people watching.
Because it's just a lot of slogans and not a whole lot of substance.
I'm trying to pull up something now, but my Instagram's
But Senator Vance, why won't he just say that he would veto the national abortion ban? And by the way, had you spoken to him about it before you were put in a position to answer that question?
No, I hadn't spoken to him about it because, again, Donald Trump thinks the question is absurd because he doesn't support a national abortion ban, and he's been explicit about it. And, John, I think that it's so preposterous for the media to focus so much on an issue where Donald Trump has been crystal clear and not on the fact that people can't afford groceries and housing because of Kamala Harris's policies.
And it's funny because when he was interviewed by that same lady who was asking questions tonight, he said he didn't support a nationwide abortion ban, but it keeps being restated. It's weird though. But Let me go ahead and let this
election
play.
is actually quite simple, and Kamala Harris and apparently the media would like to distract Americans on issues, by the way, that Donald Trump's been crystal clear about, but they're not talking nearly enough. This debate didn't talk nearly enough about the fact that Americans are struggling because they can't afford groceries, they can't afford housing, and a lot of their kids are dying of fentanyl overdoses because Kamala Harris has let the Mexican drug cartels take over the southern border. This is a disgrace what's going on in our
That's
country,
all they
John,
need to. That's
and we
all
could
he should
do
have been
so much
focused on the
better
whole
if we
time.
just had better leadership. We've got the best workers, the most beautiful country, the best natural resources, but Kamala Harris's leadership is squandering the great benefits of this country. It's why we've got to get back to Donald Trump's leadership.
Senator, by the way, I asked because he hadn't been crystal clear and he said something different than what you said. That's why I was seeking clarification. But let me ask you about this for just very quickly. I heard Donald Trump before this debate describe Kamala Harris as, I'll just read a few of them, a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage tonight?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. She repeats these ridiculous platitudes where if you actually think about what she said, you realize that it doesn't make any sense. She talks a lot about her plans, but then her plans, when you analyze the substance, don't make any sense. And more importantly, John, the American people don't get fed on plans. She has been the vice president for 3.5 years. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
All right, Senator Vance, thank you for joining us. Mary.
One thing both sides can agree on, this was a consequential night in this race. More reaction when we come back. Stay with us.
The season finale is upon us.
I think you're right. That was a good point that they didn't talk on as much as far as the grocery and the food industry and how they'll make policy to kind of affect that and what their policies will do to lead for change. I don't even know if there was any questions on that shit. Was there any questions on the groceries and shit? Because maybe that was the moderator's fault then.
Yeah, I didn't hear.
Or they did it on purpose because the corporations paid their ass off. Like, don't let them talk about this food, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ask everything else.
You know how it
FDA
goes.
was like, shit.
I'm about to tag you in the video about how his connection to Policy 2025, Plan 2025 on Facebook. You can watch it later or whatever.
No, I'm gonna play it on here so everybody can see it.
We can analyze it on here.
Yeah, we can break it down. I'm not against it.
You want me to just send it to you on
So if
Instagram
you're right, I
stuff?
can tell you. Good point, then. Or thank you for teaching me something new.
It's on Instagram. I'm downloading it now.
This is gonna be
Just
good.
sent it to you.
You can if you could pull it up over there, Darius can send me the link in the back chat over here, and I could just play it on. I can share the screen and play it. I'm on Instagram right now, about to show some stuff.
Oh, well, I'll just send it to you on Instagram then. I sent it to Darius. It's to you.
Oh, is it back on them talking yet? Nope, still commercials. I gotta skip. Oh, it's ads. We can skip these. Okay. Another 11 seconds. Okay. Let me share this screen real quick. Which Instagram did you send it to? Astral Projections 369. Okay, I'm going to Instagram. I'm sharing this page I follow, Pro Black Thought. Is it sharing? Okay, let me see if I can zoom in on this and read this to you guys. There we go. Oh yeah, that's way better. Okay. Shout out Pro Black Thought _3. my peoples. Her policies are finally on the campaign site. Her team likely placed them on the website hours before the debate tomorrow, so her opponent team does not have enough time to pick her policies apart. There is nothing specifically for Black people, such as ending. Hold on one second. Did somebody hop in here? No. Oh, let me add you back. Okay. There is nothing specifically for Black people, such as ending police immunity, reparations, investment in Black businesses, etc. Even though she said that she had something for that. Do you remember that? And we're going to do a podcast tomorrow going through all of her policies and, you know, seeing what's in there and bringing it forth for you guys. Let me continue reading. There are more mentions of Trump and Project 2025 than the people who are overwhelmingly supporting her campaign. To get an idea of how much Harris's campaign ignores Black people, take a look at the Black Liberation Platform on Jill Stein's campaign website and Claudia De La Cruz's campaign website to end the war on Black America. This is not an endorsement of any candidate. Oops, I went down too far. How do I scroll down? This is not an endorsement of any candidate, just a compare and contrast. With so many references toward her main opponent, her issues page is more an anti-Trump and not enough pro-Harris page. And they give you the titles of all of her stuff. Let me bring this down.
May I respond to that?
Of course.
If she's literally said during her debate that she wants to stop making it so where we're dividing and we're talking about this color or that, then maybe that's why she didn't specifically talk about the Black community necessarily or this community necessarily. But if you do look at her policies, she has done reform for prison release. She has decreased rehabilitation time. She has literally done policies. And I do see the people in support. Like, I try to actually post these policies and how they have affected the Black community so the Black community can actually see that maybe she's not putting it on a freaking megaphone of what she's done. But if you do the research, you can actually see she's implemented some really wonderful policies and reform after maybe in the beginning she had done things that did lock up Black men. And then she created reform and rehabilitation to rectify those things. So
I don't think her reforms rectified the whole problem. I know her, Tim Scott, and I forget the other person's name. They did put forth the what was that act? I can't think of it. The Second Chance Act, whatever Trump signed that they usually give him credit for. Kamala helped construct that. There was a lot of Republicans on that as well. Tim Scott was one. But that's like one of the things that she helped do. Like, I know I'm hip to a lot of the stuff that she's done. I think that she's the stuff. I don't know. I don't let people do one evil deed and two goods and then say, "Oh, you're all right with me." You're out the, it's off with your head at that point.
But I mean in reference to them talking about as a Black community. What are you doing for the Black community? I mean, if you want to talk about what she's done for the Black community, maybe she's not, like I said, putting it on a megaphone, but we could do some research and figure out quickly.
And what she's done and what she's going to do are two different conversations as well. I think we're focused on what she's going to do. And you took it to what she's already done as if and that response gives people the shut up and vote feeling.
No, that's not what I'm saying though. I'm saying
I know, but when we talk about what is she going to do and it's like she already did this, it's like, okay,
no, I'm saying if you want her to get on a debate, like a stage for all of America, but because you are Black, you want her to only speak about the Black experience this time, not every other experience, and to denote that this whole rhetoric about her, instead of her policies or any of those things, were that was she Black enough, was she not Black enough? So do we need her to stay on that point? I don't have a problem with them asking. I just for her to say that this was more of an anti-Trump than a pro-Harris. I think she did talk about a lot of her points. She did talk about a lot of her perspectives and her ideologies. And she did try to stop the negative crap, but...
Let me read some of these comments from Pro-Black Thought. Some of these comments. Simply Lily says, I just don't understand why the current administration, which she's a part of, can't do this stuff already. I'm not going to go into the sub comments. Brownie Bean says the policies are so broad and vague. Sounds like a list a high schooler wrote up. The fuck? The F? Laughing my ass off. Did she mention black people? Question mark. I love all people complaining, but it's obvious what Trump is about and who he protects. It's y'all outsmart y'all self and put Trump in again. Good luck with that. Again, voter shaming. I've been saying this. Everything is anti-Trump, which is wild, considering she is currently in office. What is going on with your current administration and how you plan to move forward? I see a bunch of nothing to vote for. That's funny to me. Okay, Lyndon Johnson must be proud of them and colored folks. Black people don't even care. She didn't have her policies posted. LOL, we vote out of fear. That's what I've been saying. And then people were like, no, you got to go here, there. Somebody sent me a Wikipedia page that had her policies posted.
Which is, I mean, Wikipedia can be edited, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing background research.
No, that's not what this is about. Background research is, I'm all for that. I live by that. A person who's running for office has to have their policies clearly posted. We're 90 days into close to an election, and she can't even tell us where she stands. And then she was hiding for cameras, wouldn't come out, wasn't doing interviews. People were speaking out about this. I'm not the only one. It was a problem for a lot of people.
I saw her in a lot of interviews, so I don't know.
And that was another thing. Even the Democrats were saying, no, she's not doing any. I don't know. Maybe you haven't been keeping up, because even they were like, she's not doing any right now. She wants to wait. And then she finally had the one where she sat next to Tim Scott. That was the first one. And that was last week, I believe. And then she's had 2 campaign things. That's what you mean. That's not an interview.
Heard her say she was, I mean, I saw that she was not going to debate Trump. But I mean, I've been watching her. I've watched her old stuff. I've been watching her newer stuff. I've been trying to learn.
She's only done one interview. She's only done one interview, though.
You think?
And she just did it last week.
All this time she's been campaigning. Oh, she's only spoken to one person on a camera.
Okay, I'll pull up the source for you instead of. I don't want to go back and forth without the source, so I'll just show you in a second.
Good point. Did you get that other video I sent you?
Where would it be? Which page did you send it to? Astral Projections?
No, I sent it to your regular one. I'll send it to that one.
Okay. I'll play that for you.
I mean, I already watched it, so it's up to you if you want to. I said it can't be forward.
My other page, I don't have. Which other page did you send it to? I only have Astral Projections.
I sent it to A1 Richardson.
No, that's like that's not even. I don't think I made that on accident in my pocket one day, and I'm not logged into that. I don't think anybody's active on there or doing nothing.
Well, it says
You
I
gotta
can't.
send it to Astral Projections 369. Astral Projections 369 on all platforms. Everybody go subscribe and check me out. Let me go through a couple of these posts on.
Yesterday, my husband and his
a new museum in Charles.
Can you guys hear the sound from that?
Go to the link or join the StreamYard on your phone.
Okay.
Oh, to play it?
Yeah, go to my YouTube.
Floor is always economics, because racism is
Can you guys hear the sound on this?
who you like, who you don't like.
You said no?
Yes.
Okay.
Or when they beat up on you
now,
now, because they know you don't have an economics. You don't have a basis beneath you. When they drag you to shooting black folk, they're not shooting you because you're black. They're shooting you because of your social economic condition. You're powerless. They know the only thing you're going to do, they shoot 20 blacks tomorrow. Only thing you're going to do is go out and march. That's all you're going to do. They know that. You have no power and wealth. You build that business community and you build factories and industries in there. And you produce wealth and money and income. Then you take that wealth and money and income and you use it to benefit and lift your people. And you use it also to take the surplus capital and you go to the second floor in that 5-story building. On the second floor in that 5-story building, that's politics. That's politics. That's where your politicians are. Quit letting people mislead you about voting. Voting ain't worth a damn if you don't have an economy. I have run political campaigns for presidents, for governors, for attorney generals, for congressional people, for mayors and city council people. Voting in politics ain't worth a quarter in voting if you don't have an economy. It's money that controls your politics. You take your money on that first floor and the powernomics concepts that I'm trying to get you all to buy into. You take that money off the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. Don't worry about voting, buy them.
And if anybody's familiar with lobbyists and how the process works, this is what we need to be doing instead of waiting for a handout from either one of these parties. We need to be coming together, building our own economic base, building our own businesses, and influencing these elections the same way other ethnic groups do. You sent that video to me on Instagram, you said? I think I saw a notification over here. Let me
It
see.
said you have to invite me to the chat to accept messages.
I don't want everybody all in that. I'm all in my messages and stuff. I gotta wait. I invite you to the chat. Oh, you're about to come on the StreamYard?
Yeah, and she could send the link in the back chat.
Okay, that's perfect. You can't forward it to her, D? You got it in your messages?
It's in your messages.
I'm on my phone and the laptop. I can't get to it on my laptop.
Copy. Oh, there she goes. She got it. She found it. There you go. Can you mute your mic? There you go. Sweet. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up another video.
Did you mute it?
Video file. So, yeah, I think Kamala did a good job. I'm not going to lie, though. Kamala did a good job. I've been waiting to hear from her because, again, she's been in hiding. And let's get into some of these videos.
Yeah, she did an
court reparations for Black people.
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery.
Now, let me pause this right here. I'm not giving you a soundbite. I don't like doing that to people. I think that's rude. People need to hear the conversation in context because a lot of things are taken out of what she's going to do. And you're going to see her do this all the time. You're going to ask her a serious question. When she knows she's not going to do anything for you, what she's going to do is acknowledge everything like she's with your struggle. And then like watch at the end how she lands her plane. Like, but I'm not going to stop sending the money to Israel. She's going to be like, yes, we need a resolution. We need a ceasefire. We need this. We need that. I would love it. Well, are you going to stop sending arms to Israel in an effort to force them to stop? No, we would never do that. You see? And then she ends it with that. So this is a consistent theme that she has. It's real obvious.
We had Jim Crow for almost
let me start this from the top, and I'm going to let it play through uninterrupted, and then we'll go back over it.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation.
Look, I'm sorry. I said I was going to let it play uninterrupted. She just asked her a straight question. Do you support reparations for Black people? Why is she going down this path? You already know she about to spin you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start it over. I apologize though. It's just crazy. Wow.
Like, just answer.
A century. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities
still
around
no
income.
Answer.
And we have to recognize that
that's why she's looking at her like, bitch.
Did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act.
Oh, that look. Wow, that's scary. She looks like, I hope she believes this.
Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit. Which
she said she wants to give people who are making $100,000 or less a tax credit. Now, I understand I mean, unless it's her idea that just all black people are poor, that's not reparations. But I'll let her continue. That honestly would affect all minorities. People, you know what I'm saying? Anybody who's poor can get that, which is dope. But it doesn't help our race catch up after letting everybody else have a 500-year head start on building all their wealth for their families and garner all the resources.
Will benefit and uplift 60% of black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing
right
it.
there.
Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that.
That's a dope spin move. She's good though. That was a good one. She said, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. I'm going to do something for all people. And if it benefits black people, you know, then it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
But we're talking about how black people have been held back for 500 years while everybody else was able to, again, garner all the resources and build generational wealth for their bloodlines.
And let's go down the list of people who got reparations. Let's not act like this shit just some shit we pulling out our ass. Asians.
Right.
Jewish.
Did Jewish get reparations?
Jewish got reparations. Americans, hell yeah. Who else got reparations? Did I say was it Japanese?
Was not after Pearl Harbor or no?
Yeah, the Asian bill is the recent one though. So that's the one that they passed when we were supposed to get ours.
We were supposed to get ours. We were supposed to get ours.
We were supposed to get
It's
ours
really
next,
bad.
and they're gonna repass another Asian one. So we really are in bed with them. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
Right? Oh my, I hate how she does that, right?
No, I mean, I hear what she's saying.
Because she's like,
she contradicted herself.
She did.
Then, if it's going to benefit black people and it's going to benefit everybody, only give it to black people then. And let us.
But she's like,
everybody.
Yeah.
But what she's trying to say is that I'm going to make every family better, not just the black family.
No,
but just answer it. You ain't about to give no reparations. Just be real with what you're saying.
Yes or no, nigga?
Say no, because you're not about to. But if you want to make the community better, go ahead and show us how you plan on doing that.
Big facts. Big facts.
You don't want to see it?
No, I just want my money.
Oh, okay.
And let us make the community better.
I think that's a silly notion.
Nope. Everybody else got
I don't want to see your plan. Just give me my money.
Nope.
Well, then vote for Trump. He'll give you a check.
I ain't going for neither one of them niggas.
Hold on, I got these clips on here. I do want to play some of these clips. I don't remember what this was.
Vice President Kamala Harris on her first foreign trip as such to tackle the border crisis, sparking criticism and controversy already. In fact, just minutes ago, she wrapped up a meeting with the president of Mexico.
Wait, how long is this?
As
no, this isn't what I want to
border
show.
apprehension numbers
She set that
in
link
decades.
in the back
So
chat.
she's
Okay. Oh,
And I'll show Darius like 4 or 5 other interviews that she's done in 2 weeks and 2 months and 3 months and 4 months and 6 months. She's been doing interviews, and I've been watching them, so I don't know. I did see that report that
this is what you just sent me?
No, this is the 2025 background trail to Trump that you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, the Joshua guy. The Joshua guy. I've seen this video before. Hold on. I'm sharing the wrong screen. No, I apologize. Let me switch it. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Breezy.
No, you're fine. I just was telling you that I found a bunch of interviews that she's done in plenty of recent time, not just the one. But I also did see the link where they said that was the only interview she's done. So I don't know why they would say that, because she's done plenty of them.
Well, I like to see him. Even on the news, they're saying she's not coming out and she's not going to stop asking. Like, and it's her people. It's not like Fox News, it's CNBC. And they're saying that it's actually a good strategic move. I had a whole clip on that I was looking for and I can't find it. And they were saying why she didn't, which was that she didn't want anybody to be able to challenge her policy positions. And it was good for right now because everybody's just so amped up and her policy's all about vibes right now. She's got a vibes campaign going because there was no policies out. She's smart as heck. And that's why I knew for a fact she hadn't spoke, because everybody was on the edge of their seats waiting. So anything you're playing, I'm just assuming is like an older one, maybe reshared. Yeah. Like, we know she did her little campaign thing and got up there on stage with Quavo and them. She did those, but that's not an interview where somebody could sit down and tackle her one-on-one about the issues.
And you know, I play devil's advocate. I give respect where respect is due. Even if you finessed your way into a situation or you climb the ranks based off your skill, intelligence, a combination of everything you use to get to where you at. And I see how you might have walked the dark side, but I still gotta respect your intelligence sometimes. Like,
there you go with that devil's advocate stuff again, man.
To get where you at, and you there, you on the precipice, like you there.
I feel you. I'm gonna play this clip. I saw this too, and this is where I'm gonna let you know. This is what you sent me, Breezy.
Yeah.
I didn't think that you would want me to play this. This doesn't.
No,
I don't think that this shows your point, but I will play it right now.
This is the beginning of it.
I think it goes against your point, but I'm gonna let it play, and if I stand corrected, dope.
Actual platform that Trump is going to push when he becomes president. It's listed on his official campaign website. Project 2025 is not to be found there. Supposed to make it illegal to be homeless. Has nothing to do with Trump. Trump has neither endorsed nor supported this platform, or is it something he's interested in? It's just another tool to fearmonger you and to just continue to vote for the same people over and over again and never breaking the cycle of chaos that we see within the Black community. Uncle Tom. It makes sense, man. But listen, do you? You're mad at what you want to be mad at, but you ain't mad at Trump.
That was a funny little skit.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If you're going to gaslight, I would recommend trying a little harder. See, after the president of the Heritage Foundation went on Steve Bannon's radio show the other day, Steve Bannon, who worked in the Trump administration, to say that we're in the middle of the second American Revolution that'll be as bloodless as the left allows it to be, which rightfully freaked a bunch of people out. Trump and all the Trumpettes have been in damage control. And here comes Topher Town Music in order to sweep up the pieces and claim that this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It's not his official policy proposal. As if you motherfuckers forgot that we're on the internet, somewhere where everything has a paper trail. Trump's main super PAC has been pushing a website that is farming the engagement off of Trump and Project 2025 to compare Biden and Trump's policies. Doesn't support Project 2025, but is sure fine being associated with it. Trump's chief of staff at the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, his associate director of presidential personnel, and his other associate director of presidential personnel are all on the Project 2025 team. Trump's national press secretary working on Project 2025, Heritage Foundation YouTube channel.
In fact, Project 2025 was created by a conservative think tank named Heritage Foundation.
Here's what Trump said about the Heritage Foundation.
Because you understand that our glorious heritage is the foundation of everything we hope to achieve, which is why we need
that's
the help
not that's
of the Heritage
wait
Foundation.
oh, okay
And everyone here tonight to get our
I was about to say they spun that
through the House, through the Senate.
John McKenty, the former director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office under Trump, is working as a senior advisor on Project 2025. That's this motherfucker, by the way. Just so we know.
Have you heard of Agenda 47?
Let's talk about Agenda.
Dang, how do I go back? Okay, I'm gonna let it play. It won't let me go back.
47. Agenda 47 is something that Trump has rolled out himself, but why doesn't he mention it much? Could that be because more than it being a string of solid policy proposals, it was more focused at getting him to win the Republican primary by shooting back at a lot of the stuff that was going on at the time, which is why nothing has been updated on the website since December of 2023. But let me say that you're right, and he has nothing to do with Project 2025.
And again, to my point, he's had his policies posted for a long time.
But not been updated since 2023 of December.
What are his policies on there, though?
I don't know, but obviously they haven't been updated.
He updated them last year. He's known he's been running for 4 years. So he came out with these policies last year because he knows he's running for president. It's not like Kamala, who she stumbled into this, apparently.
I guess I didn't look on either of them because I just researched for myself, so I never looked up their policies specifically.
Well, that's what the
website.
research. If you're researching for yourself, I think that's where you would start, but I don't know.
Well, Trump
I would
usually
think
lies about a lot
Instead of
stuff.
starting on
That's
TikTok
crazy.
and listening to other people's opinions about the stuff, I would go look
I
at it.
don't have a I don't go on TikTok.
I mean, Instagram. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he's kind of presenting some factual evidence that maybe we could research and fact check.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again, I went to the website first. So when they say silly stuff, I already know, like, oh, well, that's not what it says there. But we can backtrack. I'll let this play. And then we can go to his website.
I mean, he does.
But that's scary to start, because you can, if somebody's not right, you're starting with somebody's bias and then fact checking it to see if it's correct instead of just going to where the factual information is.
Wait,
I'm talking about
He would want that to happen. Let's look at what the fuck he wants to happen. Trump has come out in favor of mass deportation, targeting people who are also legally living in the United States but harbor jihadist sympathies. Incoming constitution violation. Reinstating the Muslim ban. Incoming constitutional violation.
Reinstating the Muslim ban. You know anything about the Muslim ban, Darius?
No, that's in that Agenda 47 shit.
No, the reinstating. He had a Muslim ban when he was president the first time.
No, I ain't know.
No,
Well,
you don't remember that?
I remember, but I ain't hit to the Agenda 47. He putting that shit in that?
That I don't know.
The Muslim ban, when he first came out, he put a ban on the 7 countries that Obama bombed the most, because that's where all the refugees were coming from, and he didn't want like terrorists to start slipping in from there. They weren't all Muslim countries that he banned, but they called it a Muslim ban because it was the majority Muslim, but it was a way to try to,
he was,
obviously,
his verbiage was
to make him seem racist. So
his verbiage was very anti-Muslim, though. But
I mean, but yeah, he didn't call it the Muslim ban, and it wasn't all Muslim countries. But
is he talking about Agenda 47, or is he talking about his policy on his website?
he's saying that he wants there are countries that he wants to ban refugees on coming from, which I guess they're going to call a Muslim ban.
47
So
now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's talking about Agenda 47. He wants to reinstitute some form of the Muslim ban.
Okay,
is what it sounds like he's saying. But that's in there. He wants to stop refugees coming from certain countries that we've been bombing and ravishing and killing everybody and creating terrorists there, like creating a lot of enemies around the globe with these bombs.
Venezuelans, huh?
They're next. Like and that's the reason why they got to get him out of office. He puts a bad face on a lot of the things that they do every day that we just overlook. When it comes to Venezuela and their situation, they have a whole problem with their elections. But when Trump was in office, he was saying, what's going on with Venezuela? They're right in our backyard and they got all that oil. We coming for that oil, baby. Right. And every politician in the room is like, oh my God, no, you're not supposed to say it like that. They're like, man, we got to get this guy out of here. He's like, his brashness is waking people up, and he's giving credit to people who we call conspiracy theorists and telling them, and now they are validated in their truths. And that's what he did when he came into office, accidentally, just being himself. And that's why the whole establishment is against him. I was taking notes on this. One of the things she said was that 200 other Republicans endorse her. And that's because they're the party of war. He's not coming in. He didn't start any new interventions, and he's not really for that unless it makes sense economically. And even then, I'm still not for him. The other Republicans endorse her, because again, he puts a bad face on the normal stuff they do every day with a smile and lie to us about. And then he comes in and says silly things like that. He comes in, he challenges Hillary on the stage. He says, I know the system is corrupt because I use it. She's like, I used to buy you politicians, so I know that you're only going to honor your donors and your special interest wants and needs, that you're going to ignore the American people. And that's why they're choosing me, because they're sick of that. So that's why they turned on him, because he was like, he don't fear them, and he looked down on them. Like, I've been around y'all when I wasn't a politician. Y'all ain't nobody to me. Like, we've been at the same clubs, we've been effing the same girls, we've been kicking it at the same spots. Like, so they
that's cool that his brashness and his boldness to say whatever is like kind of a reveal of the hand of the powers that be. But at the same time, his rhetoric and the way he delivered and carried himself is retarded. So they both they both laughing stocks. Why they trying to talk about the other one? How countries look at them? All the fucking countries is laughing at both you stupid motherfuckers, right? Both y'all clowns. They laughing at Kamala as a clown. They laugh.
What has Kamala done to
they
make herself
all
look
clowns.
like a clown?
They clowns in general.
I mean, as far as on the world stage, she's poised.
She got laughed out of Africa. She went over there trying to spread the LGBTQ agenda and tell them that they had to convert or there was going to be sanctions, and they laughed her out of there. They're like, we don't care what you come in here talking about. They literally did. I didn't say that. I'm just saying. No, we were asking why other countries were laughing at her. I was giving you the answers to that.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense, but that wouldn't happen over here or in Europe or something like that in regards to LGBTQ. But it makes sense for it happening in a country where it's illegal for you to be LGBTQ. That does make sense. So, good example. But I think that Trump's behavior makes people not need to vote for him. It's not like, oh, he could backtrack us and he's confident. It's also like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, you lie. You make no sense half the time. You're like, you have no poise. You have no rhetoric. You have no self-control. You have no discipline. Like, all of your behaviors. No, wait. All of your behaviors make me not vote for you. And as someone who actually goes to Democratic and Republican events, Donald Trump has literally torn the whole Republican Party down the middle. And the Republicans are talking about it's because of his extremism and the supremacy that he brings with him that is actually ripping their party apart.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt they would tell you the real reason. Of course, they're going to go with the propaganda. The only people who are highlighting extremism every day, the only people who
that I know in real life telling me their real experiences as to what's going on in their party. And if I'm going to Republican Party events and Democratic Party events and hearing the true conversations from people who are involved, why discredit that?
Well, the only people I feel who are divisive and promoting division are the people who are in control of the media. And it's obviously not the Republicans or Donald Trump, or these smear campaigns, Russiagate, things like that would never have happened. As soon as
KKK people standing outside with Trump signs are divisive.
You just ignored something way bigger than that I just presented for something way smaller. I'm confused. I'm just talking about who controlled the whole media and who's responsible for pumping hate into the minds of the people every day.
Yeah.
It actually backfired. They made Trump more relevant, and this actually just came out. The Department of Justice chairman in New York, who presented Trump these charges, just came out yesterday. He didn't come out yesterday. He was on a hidden camera admitting that these are political charges, that all of this stuff is bogus, that they're really just trying to keep him from running. I'm going to do a podcast on that tomorrow. The video just came out. It's like all over. It's going all over. It's going viral right now. It's not AI. And it's just, that's why the big thing is there's no continuity in the rule of law. We have war criminals walking around. Obama tortured American citizens. He tortured Chelsea Manning. Did a whole bunch of other stuff. But we're trying to put him in jail for stripper payments. That's laughable. I'm just going to laugh at that. We're trying to put him in jail for classified documents. Granted, he did break a rule, but then when there's no continuity. You can't attack him and not lock everybody else up, because then they're doing exactly what they're accusing him of going to do. I've been for that, but look, I'm for that. You can. If we're going to do it, then we have to do it. You can't just do one person.
But how?
And that's not what's being done, and that's why it's not being respected. But again, the Department of Justice chairman who served him in the indictments was just caught on hidden camera having a whole long conversation with somebody you shouldn't have been talking to, admitting that these are political prosecutions, that they're laughable, that the rules were twisted to even make these indictments get through. But people who review them know that. Like, I watch Glenn Greenwald, and he reads them all from top to bottom, and he's a lawyer and he's been in politics for a while. But when you look at them, I don't even want to say. I'd rather do a podcast on it, because with absent of the evidence in front of me, it's going to sound weird. But I'll let you respond to that. I don't want to be long-winded. Any more than I already have, I should say.
Yeah, wanted to give you the respect of that big thing since I interceded with my small thing.
Well, I mean, the KKK standing outside may be divisive, but every day people pumping Trump's going to do this. What did they say? There's going to be a bloodbath. I want to pull up the clip of what he said. He said there's going to be a bloodbath in the automobile industry if something about workers. He didn't say there's going to be a bloodbath if I don't win re-election. And it's sad that they keep repeating it like that. And it's when they do stuff like that, it's obvious that I can't trust these people at all. Like, whoa, you really just took his words, twisted it like that to scare the American people?
What's weird is do you, because I feel like, never mind. Do you feel like you can trust Trump?
That's not the question. I'm a registered Democrat, so I'm trying to hold them to the fire. I'm not really worried about holding him to the fire at the same time. I got to do my in-house shit first. I'm not letting shit keep falling on my head from my own party. Shit's weird. Again, like I say, you know what I fear? I do fear my democracy being stolen. I fear not being able to vote. I fear my vote being stolen, which it was. These are the things that I fear. I also fear the censorship that we endured. You know what else I'm scared of? Mandated vaccines. Wow. You're asking me what I fear. No, these aren't things that Trump is doing.
You did say, can you trust Trump?
I said, do you trust Trump? I didn't say, what do you fear?
I don't trust Trump.
Do I trust Trump? I think he's transparent enough for me to read his lies better.
So you don't.
So you don't trust him.
I don't trust any politician. That's just no.
Okay, that's all
I don't trust any of these politicians. No, I don't think any of them should be. There are some who seem trustworthy. We got Jill Stein. Cornel West is questionable. He's made some moves that I have questions on, but I still like him and respect him still at this point. But if I was to try to get everybody to go vote, it would be Jill Stein's trying to do reparations. Like she's the only one. It's funny. Yeah, this shit's just funny, man. I want to play that bloodbath clip because they keep trying to scare the American people, saying that there's going to be a bloodbath if Donald Trump doesn't get reelected, and that he said that. And that shit is. Why would you even
say there's going to be a bloodbath in the auto industry? Like, why would that be the word you chose?
I mean, I've heard every politician say some shit like.
Yeah, Joe Biden talks crazy all the time. Joe Biden says the craziest stuff.
Clip them.
But I mean, if we're gonna be picking apart everybody's words, that was just a dumb choice of words. Period. It was gonna be a bloodbath, and why?
I think what's more egregious is the way it was twisted than what was stated, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Don't twist the words, but I'm just saying, if we're going to pick apart everybody's words, that was a dumb way to say it, but okay.
Yeah, he says a lot of stuff in a weird way. I don't agree with how he said there was fine people on both sides either. Like, say it in a different way, you idiot.
It ain't about saying it in a different way. That's my point. Listen,
yeah, that's how he talk. He right?
No, and we thinking he just so retarded. This nigga calculated too. He know how he's saying it. He playing the fence, nigga. Like, but stand back and be reserved or whatever he say about the Proud Boys and shit. Come on, man, nigga. What you mean stand back and wait? What this nigga say? I forgot the exact terminology, but he didn't condemn them niggas.
He won't condemn.
You have to condemn them niggas and at least lie, nigga. That's his problem. He don't want to lie.
He can't lie because
he don't want to lie.
You have to
lie, nigga.
Yeah, he don't want to lie, but he did tell the truth. There was
he can't.
There was people out there on both sides who wasn't causing no trouble, and there was people on both sides who was out there on some mess. So he was just really, literally describing the situation as it was. And
no, fuck that. It wasn't niggas out there with pitch. Fuck that. That situation, he fucked up.
That's wild.
He allowed to fuck that nigga fucked up on that.
Wild.
Them niggas was out there 1,000 deep with pitchforks and ball heads. Nigga, fuck that. You gotta be like,
yeah, he not talking. He said he not talking about them. He talking about it was just people out there who genuinely wanted to protest the thing being coming down. They wasn't trying to fight.
Why didn't he condemn that?
They line of question was about them pitchfork niggas. That's
we gonna play it. We gonna play that too because that shit funny. I like what that shit was funny when he said that. What am I
was
going to?
1,000 deep though. That shit
I
crazy.
want to.
Running motherfuckers over, man. Damn.
Yeah. What was he in, a Charger too?
Yeah, it's gonna get wild because like with Donald Trump winning or losing, he has the rhetoric and that's why they do silence this nigga, because his voice is powerful to a certain demographic. So once he say the code words and all this other shit, he gets people riled up. That's why I don't trust this nigga, because he got too much power and sway over a certain demographic that's on that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They ready to ride the fuck out. And once he could say the trigger words or the code words or something happens to this nigga, he lose or whatever, they gonna turn up.
It's gonna be crash out.
So they gonna crash out. So it's like, damn, if he win, if the Kamala win,
No one man should have
presidents
all
with
this power. I feel you.
all the fucking technology and the sciences and the food industry, all that shit gonna be compromised like a motherfucker. Cause it's either gonna get outsourced to other countries or they just gonna allow it to get bioengineered. Like it's gonna get manipulated to the point we don't got no control over as a people to be self-sustained. They like Donald Trump, I'll give him this. He do want to bring power back to America by fuck everybody else interests. It's only about us. He be on that.
He didn't bring jobs back to America though. That's another thing I'm upset with him
They
about.
like, oh, we're about the world. Yes, the American people, but we got interest in the world. Like, nigga, fuck it. I don't want to be profane about it, but forget these other countries and what they got going on. Our inner cities messed up. We got the farmers fucking up, and some of them getting paid off to not even produce the crop. Like, they manipulating our food. They manipulating the water, everything bad at home, but y'all trying to send our money and our war taxation. What she say was how much a day? That shit was crazy.
Yeah. Like 30 million. I forgot what she said.
Like 23 million. Crazy. What?
I'm gonna play this clip, Donald, the fake bloodbath, the clipped one, and then I'm gonna play the full one because it's funny how they twisted this.
We could do with 23 million right now. That's reparations.
For the whole,
nigga.
That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. If this election isn't won,
Why did they cut
If
that?
I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Did he really say that?
He said if I don't get elected, but he's talking about for the automobile industry. They don't show you the beginning of that. That's what's funny.
What automobile industry he talked about?
Hold on, I'm about to play the full one. Trust me.
It's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. If this election isn't won, I'm not sure that you'll ever have another election in this country. I actually say that the date, remember this, November 5th, I believe it's going to be the most important date in the history of our country. I believe that. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in the way.
Okay, now that's the divisive shit that they're doing. This is from Entertainment TV, ET. That's crazy. Now let me play the clip so you can see what he says before that. That was wild. And that would scare me too if I was, out here, and I would be rushing to vote for Kamala if I heard that.
4% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country, think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. 4%.
You see that?
He said for the country.
He's
said
talking
for
about
the country.
Yeah, for the country. He's talking about the automobile industry. He's not talking about my people are going to go to war.
Well, how do you know?
No, he.
Do you need me to play it all over again?
I see what he's saying. Like he was talking about the automobile.
He was talking about it.
He ain't just gonna randomly cut off like
He
no.
said, no,
but
he
no,
said,
he was. I see what
Wow.
the finesse was. No, they finessed that.
No,
They
situation.
finessed it.
No,
he
they
finessed that.
No.
He said that'll be the least of the worries. If
And
I
you
don't
know
get
what's funny?
elected,
You know how I
it'll
be
bloodbath
feeling
for this
people.
country, and then he
No, but
stopped
listen.
himself.
That's scary
listen,
that
you
she's
know how I be
doing
feeling
that.
people. He literally did fuck up, but not because he knew he was saying it's gonna be like killing going on. He was like, damn, they probably gonna flip this shit. But he already was like, fuck it, like yeah, that he ain't mean it like that. That's crazy.
Except we had January 6th as proof.
No, I know but
we had January 6th.
But listen.
We had what happened.
I'm going to play that for her as
Let me
well,
know.
so that way she can hear him say, let's go down here and peacefully protest. Like, how does that turn into him leading a riot? Like, that's crazy, too. If you watch the thing in full context, which I did, I had to play it back because I thought I missed it. I'm like, where did he tell them to go do this? I played it back like, oh, this is what they're doing? They're trying to twist this? I was like, oh, my God, it's the exact same thing as this, but even worse. Like, and that's why he said it on the stage. Like, thank you for adding that in there peacefully and patriotically. Like, that's what he said. He's like, you got to add that in there. That's what he said. And people leave that out and it's cut out. And it's very scary. And it goes into the mind frame of the people who think that these Trump tards they have to worry about. And like, it's sad, man. It's I don't know. And then I don't know to throw cover for it when it's obviously taken out of context. He's giving a whole paragraph, a bloodbath for what? If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath if I don't get elected. He's not talking about rights being stolen or the liberties of people being stolen for not having their vote counted. He's not talking about none of that. He's talking about automobiles. He's talking about automobiles. So what type of bloodbath? Whatever. I mean, hey, if you want to believe it, there are others who still will. I'm going to play it one more time, though. This is on Woke Society's page. I just followed them, so.
Of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the. I don't get elected.
I didn't mean
it's
to
going
do
to be
that.
a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
At this point in the game, trying to parse a word like bloodbath strikes me as being entirely absurd. He's violent. In the same speech, he calls the people, hundreds and over thousands, who beat up cops a block or two away from where we're sitting today. He called them unbelievable patriots. This is violence, violence, violence. So when he says the word bloodbath, he knows what he's doing, whether he means an economic bloodbath or something else. In the same speech, he is endorsing political violence. And then when he says you'll never have another.
And I don't like how they're trying to say that because they were actually talking about killing this man, dragging him through the streets. They were endorsing all type of violence on anybody who supported him. Like it's getting wild out here. I agree with them though that bloodbath was definitely poor choice of words. Now, but again, that's just him. He just says shit like that. But to take it out of context like that, that's dangerous. And I think that's the misinformation that Kamala should be coming to censor. You know, nobody's going to take her page down for that. Nobody's going to censor Kamala for saying that, accusing him of there being a bloodbath if he doesn't get elected from MAGA. Because it was obviously the automobile industry that he was speaking of. And again, stuff like this is scary because this is how indoctrination and brainwashing works. And fear mongering, like that's another thing. They're using it to scare people. That's what's terrifying me. Like and people are falling in line. You know, fear inhibits your ability to make wise choices sometimes, and you know, studies show that. Shit's wild. What time? Oh, I've been on here for a minute. All right, let me play one more video, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Present. Where does Kamala stand on Israel? She made her
has a right to
statement
defend
clear
itself
today.
without any question. The president and I take very seriously our commitment to Israel and to the people of Israel, to support them, and in particular to give Israel what it needs to defend itself. And as long as I'm a United States Senator, I will do everything in my power to ensure broad and bipartisan support for Israel's security and right to self-defense. It is why I support full funding for Israel, including for the Arrow, David Sling, and the Iron Dome missile defense systems, which save lives.
This is Kamala Harris, the VP of the United States, now endorsed by U.S. President Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential candidate. She has been vocal about her support for Israel since October 7th, sometimes without fact-checking allegations.
We can't deny the significance of vicious, brutal attack that caused the death of 1,200 innocent people, a lot of them young people who are just attending a concert. Women who were brutally assaulted and raped. And again, as someone who spent a lot of
What scares me is how the number of people at that party equates to them being able to genocide over 40,000 Palestinians. That shit's scary, and she's still running around with this talking point, and it's like the numbers just don't add up at this point. At this point, it's not self-defense. At this point, it's genocide, and she signed against the UN investigating Israel for war crimes. They did, and they actually came out with a conclusion. Obviously, they said they're guilty of them. Has Israel stopped? No. I thought the UN stood for something. Obviously, they don't. They don't have as much power as I thought they did. Obviously, but if they did, none of these wars would be happening.
Exactly,
So,
because what the fuck do they gauge the war crime with? Like, how do they know when to step in? Like, all right, now it's a war crime because this shit been happening since what 1948. Out, like they've been back and forth fighting and doing random skirmishes and bullshit to each other, the Palestinians and Israelis. So
it's called the Nuremberg standards, though. It's called the Nuremberg standards. I believe that's what the UN goes off of. Let me pull it up right now.
So is it like, all right, y'all kidnapped 100 of our girls and killed them? All right, we about to get 200 of y'all. It's not like what do the numbers? Like, how they determine that shit? Because they both been on bullshit with each other. So it's obviously you just picking a side. Nigga, don't try to make it seem like you just... But she really ain't, though. She rocking with who she rocking with. Now that I think about it, she just explaining it like, look, they killed our motherfuckers, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Basically.
Let me let this play, then I'm gonna go to the Nuremberg Code after this.
my career focused on those kinds of crimes, the horror of it. And all of that to also then say Israel has a right to defend itself.
As Vice President, Harris has aligned with Biden's stance on the ongoing Israeli onslaught on Palestine's Gaza. But days into her campaign for the U.S. presidency, she has not yet detailed her Palestine policy. Some took to social media to question her absence during Israeli PM Netanyahu's speech to U.S. Congress on July 24th, wondering whether she will chart a different course from Biden's.
Part of me feels like she's going so hard as a way to kind of balance out a potential policy shift away from a Joseph Biden era policy towards the occupation.
Others argue that Harris's stance on Israel has been consistently clear, bolstered by her long-lasting connections to Israeli interest groups. After Biden dropped out of the presidential race, Harris raised over $120 million, according to her team. And among the donors,
without a policy on her website. without even posting a policy position. It's funny how she went from one of the most unpopular politicians, only winning 2% of the vote when she ran last time and dropping out, to, you know, this overwhelming support. But it's not because of who she is. I really genuinely believe it's the vote blue no matter who attitude, which a lot of people are stepping away from. They see it's not a winning strategy for their interest. Even the Californian Democrats right now, who just had this whole situation with the Black Caucus denying the reparations stuff, they said Kamala is going to pay for this because, you know what, we voted blue no matter who. Like y'all said, these people got in and they're not representing us. So you know what, we're going to take it out on her. It's funny. And, you know, I don't knock them for that. That's their way to hold them accountable. So maybe next time, you know, they're taken serious. If that's what you got to do, you know, anything but
Kamala,
keep being overlooked. Go ahead.
You got to look at it though from the archetype aspect of who these politicians are and what they represent to at a basic level. Kamala is a woman and she's a woman of color, so like, of course she gonna get backing. She represents a group that has been marginalized since the inception of the presidency. So it makes sense to me. And us as men, it is kind of hard for us to see that angle and that aspect of it, I think, because we see the policies from what they are. Like, they are what they are, because they really don't affect men in a biological aspect like they do women. So I think she do got a reason of why she would get back, and once she got nominated, like, it makes sense to me.
I feel you on that.
I think she do got a large backing. It's closer than what people think.
Oh, she definitely does now. She definitely
And
does
the
now.
vote blue and no matter what do come into play, but I think just the archetype of what she is at a base level, policy aside, comes into play too. Just like with Trump, who Trump is at a base level, a fucking know-it-all, old, don't give a fuck, rich business white man. Like, that's an archetype a certain demographic fucking with right now. So
big facts. Hey, you right about that shit. You right about that. I can't even cat. I was about to play this video of the Department of Justice chairman.
We going on 3 hours.
Yeah, we about to get off here. This is the last thing I'll play. Fuck it. What's this one? Ooh, I'm trying to do it on the wrong thing. Let me not do it right there. This one quick too. It's not that long. I should just do the wait though. All right, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna wait to play this. Y'all catch up with me tomorrow. Me and Chef Darius gonna do a podcast on transhumanism, and I will tap in with some politics. And we'll see what the media is talking about with this damn debate. I want to see what some of the reactions are from, celebrities gonna be weighing in on this. Some of your favorite elite motherfucking journalists is gonna be weighing in on this, and I'm interested to see their take on this shit. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, Astro Projections 369. Make sure you hit up Chef Darius's channel, Chef Darius Jackson on YouTube, and hit up the whole effing show on YouTube as well. And y'all have a good night. We out of here.